COVID, they have to deal with the economic crisis, the racial justice crisis, the climate crisis. It's a huge task, but they've been planning for it. They've stayed disciplined. They haven't been thrown off course, I think, particularly in the last couple of weeks. And so I think they're ready to get into those offices and begin to do the work of the country.
Andy, you were literally in the ear of President Bush at the time of 9/11. Something about the administration. This is a little different in that the president arrived what the country was facing was airtime to the vaccination plan. Nonetheless, how does it change an administration to have almost a singular focus on everything?
Well, first of all, I do think that this is a time of history and hope, and a tribute. This inauguration was a tribute to our democracy. I agree with what the president said, and I loved how he said it. And yes, he acknowledged that there is much to repair, much to restore, and much to rebuild, and that's the challenge.
And Andy, as I just want to pause because I want people to see what's happening here. It's important that the Vice President Harris and her husband Doug Emhoff had just escorted Vice President Pence and Karen Pence down the east front steps of the Capitol. And Andy, I mean, to continue your thought, this is a moment that the country needed to see its leaders in both political parties come together. The president, former President Trump, did not choose to attend, but Vice President Pence's choice to come was a real statement. How important do you think that was?
I think it's critically important, and I compliment Vice President Pence for being there, and I actually celebrate the role that he played in the last 10 days to help us celebrate our democracy and restore it and put it on the right path. So I'm glad that he was there, and I'm grateful that Kamala Harris, the new vice president, seems to be very gracious to Vice President Pence, and I think that was a good signal to see. I was also thrilled that the former presidents that were there celebrating our democracy. It's so important for us to polish our democracy. It's been very tarnished, and the world is watching us. So this inauguration was a very good inauguration. I pray that people paid attention to it, put their partisan differences aside, and just listened to it, because this was an inauguration of hope, and I'm going to say resolve and determination to make sure that everyone's voices in this country are heard, but that our democracy and the institutions of our democracy will work. Going to help and make sure they work for the benefit of everyone. And so I compliment the president for setting the tone. It was very important for us to have. We needed it, and it was long overdue.
Former Vice President Mike Pence and his wife. Let's go to Frank Melvin there on that east. So we're watching right now the Vice President and her husband. They're heading back into the rotunda now as we watch former Vice President Pence's movie head out. This one we don't know so right now we're back inside the rotunda. Vice President Biden inside now.
By the way,
Exchanging gifts, if you will.
so Robert Altman said say hello,
Present some gifts.
and my pal Linda was calling them yesterday. They said the budget.
Okay.
All right.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Well done.
Almost finished.